I can't have you stay here anymore because like I might get evicted. And I'm like, oh my God, I'm so sorry. Like all we did was sleep. Like I swear. And he's like, no, it's cool. As I'm on the phone with him, I'm not making this up. As I'm on the phone with him, the dude next to us driving, I'm not driving. I'm just like right behind the driver. He's doing this like the guy on the highway. He's like, pull your window down. And my buddy, like our buddy Jesse, like opens the window and he's like, "What's up?" And he's screaming. We're going like 60 miles an hour. I was like, "What?" And he's like, "Your trailer door's open." And we were like,
"Oh
fuck!
Shit!" Welcome to the ninth episode of the Cast That Ends Creation. I'm your host, Chris Deering. This is the show where I interview mathcore bands. If you beautiful people in chat have any questions or comments, feel free to drop them in and I'll read them aloud. If you're watching this on YouTube or listening to this in your car and have no idea what I'm talking about, the cast first goes live on Twitch at twitch.tv/the Cast That Ends Creation. You might have noticed a new logo, and it would have been a transition, didn't have time, but a new logo made by Jay Dino, and it's pretty awesome. You should give him some of your business. With all that out of the way, let me introduce our guest tonight, who's dropping their sophomore album, The Angel of History, through Good Fight on December 4th. Welcome in, Cryptodira. How are you guys doing?
What's up, man?
Did I say the name right?
Chilling. You did. You nailed it. Yeah, that's actually crazy because nobody does.
Alrighty. Tell us who you are, what you do in the band.
I'm Scott. I do guitar and vocals, and yeah.
I'm Matthew. I play drums, and I do some other stuff. But as far as performance goes, I play drums.
Alrighty. So Wikipedia says that the Cryptodira are a suborder of testudines, I guess, which include freshwater turtles, snapping turtles, tortoises, softshell turtles, and sea turtles. Why'd you name yourself after some turtles?
Okay, so this goes back to we were in high school. We were originally called No Judgment, and we just didn't really like that name. And this is like going back to like years ago.
We were children.
Yeah, and so we were just looking into a whole bunch of like Greek deities, but because we have like a solid bit of like sludge and post metal influence, like we like vibed with, I don't know, like ancient and just like large sounding animal names that also like might be kind of oceanic. So we're just like, oh fuck, okay, like pelican or mastodon, shit like that. And then we just came across exactly that Wikipedia article that you're looking at. We came across it, I don't know, like 12 years ago. And we're just like, all right, it starts with crypto, so it sounds kind of like a death metal band name, like Cryptopsy or something like that.
Okay, yeah.
But it's giant turtles, and turtles are sick.
That's the whole story.
Yeah, that's really all that went into it.
It doesn't get much deeper than that. It was as simple as if Mastodon can do it, then so can we.
It's like, hey guys, turtles are sick. This is the name.
I mean, are they not sick? It's like I don't think anyone's ever heard that and been like, "Well, dude, turtles suck," like because they're sick. So it's kind of just how it is. And it's like maybe one of those things you look back on and go, "Should we have done that?" But then it's way too late. Like when you have like albums out and you're signed and stuff. So that's the name now.
Yeah, you show me someone that has a problem with turtles, and I'll show you one of the worst people in America.
Alrighty. So you guys have been around for some time. I believe it's 11 years.
It's weird because like we've been playing with each other, at least Mike and Matt and myself, for literally since we were in middle school, since we were like 12 years old in our first band. So like Cryptodira in its current form really hasn't been around that long. Like, but we've been playing together for so long, it kind of just feels like these ebbs and flows of like different names and different iterations. But ultimately, Cryptodira probably started like in the way that we're used to referring to it as itself in like 2013, we were finishing high school. We like did our first DIY tour right after high school. We were 18, and we did that for like 3 or 4 years before we got signed. So like we were like more concerned about just touring and putting out records than like, making some crazy perfect bedroom album. Like we made these terrible sounding demos and toured on those for a while. And
Four Quarters came out 2012.
Yeah. Our first demo thing came out in 2012. So yeah, I guess like 8 years officially, but
okay. I saw a Facebook post you guys put out last year, I think, that was saying that it's been 10 years. That's where I was getting the 11 years from. But 8 years.
Yeah, because like Yeah, that photo is from like our last band essentially, but it was the same dudes pretty much. So it was like,
Okay.
you know, here's us 10 years ago, but it wasn't Cryptodira officially. But yeah, it's been about 8 years for this band.
That's when it was No Judgment, the weird hardcore band.
Yes. Yes. Yeah.
That's totally what that name makes me think of, a hardcore band. So
Yeah, it wasn't.
so you've been together for a long time. There's still people that aren't quite familiar with you guys. Can you give us just a brief history of the band?
Yeah. So I've known Matt here for 21 years now.
Jesus.
We went to first grade together. Yeah, I know. We're still somehow not sick of each other, but we met Mike when we were like 10, I think, or something like that. So we've all been friends just for fucking forever. And then Jeremy, our bass player, we met him in high school too. So like it's a very personal beginning. It wasn't like we started a band and found members. We found members and started a band. So we've sort of been playing together forever, and it just at this point it feels weird to play with other people. So yeah, the band started like officially at the end of high school, at least in this form, and then immediately hit the ground running. Like I said, hit DIY tour circuit, doing like East Coast stuff and then some Midwest stuff, and just putting out demos that sounded like dog shit, because that was what our concern was just getting out. You know, whereas our contemporaries at the time were like, that's like when shit like Periphery started to come out and Animals and stuff, and everything was starting to sound like ridiculously perfect at all times, and we were kind of like the antithesis of that, and like, no, let's just put out some dirty records and get out there on tour and whatever. And
were y'all recording yourselves at
and,
that time, or were y'all like going to studios?
Yeah.
Recording yourself?
Yeah, just a friend of ours.
Okay.
Well, kind of. We had a buddy who had like a little home studio, and it was more or less just like an interface and some gear. And yeah, we didn't know our ass from our elbow with recording, and still barely do. So yeah, we went to him for our first few demos, and then we did the first like real recording we did was in 2014. We went to Tracks East in New Jersey, which is where Calculating Infinity was recorded, and we did a split with a band called East of the Wall from New Jersey, and that was like our first like solid sounding release, and we were like, okay, this way we gotta go now.
Yeah, that was also the first release on a record label, but it was also a record label that we ourselves had started.
Okay. Give yourself some
it was like a little mini. Yeah, we want to like start a project like that, and in a weird way I still want to revive that, but our own band got so busy immediately after that our little record label dream died like with that release. So one day maybe I will have a label again, but for now that's where it ended. But then after that we got signed to Good Fight. That's kind of like when the band like almost in a weird way was reborn. I don't want to say officially started, because that kind of like takes away from the fact that we busted our asses for years before that, but we got signed in 2016 and released our first record in 2017, or our first proper record in 2017. So that's kind of like when the band like took on the form that it's most known for.
Okay. And now you're working on your second one, right? Getting that one put out. That's awesome, man. So your music's pretty broad, hard to categorize. I would call it progressive death metal. Is that where you guys are at, or?
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay.
Works for me.
Yeah, depending on like who I'm talking to and what I feel like will make sense to them, I describe the band as I swear to God, every single time someone asks like, "Oh, what music do you play?" Again, depending on context, it'll be a totally different answer, but none of those answers are necessarily wrong. So I accept progressive death metal. I think that's a good categorization.
It's a good spot. It's a good spot to land.
Yeah. It's, like I said, there's a lot of different things going into it. What are some of your big influences?
Probably from the start, we were like, well, like what really turned the page on it was Dream Theater when we were kids. That was like the band that blew the door open, I think. And from there, like the more narrow influences that actually comprised the band's sound a little more came through. And that was bands like next wave was like Opeth and Between the Buried and Me and Death and Cynic, ISIS, Converge, yeah, Dillinger Escape Plan. Those are like the ones that sort of like structured what the band would eventually sound like. And probably still most sound like to this day. But yeah.
I was getting a lot of Between the Buried and Me vibes.
Yeah, we get that a lot. definitely like a big influence. Mostly probably in like maybe less in sex and more in like the attitude and structure of songs and the ability to just sort of go wherever we want with them.
Yeah, going from like really intense stuff to nice, beautiful passages. It's kind of like the hallmark of at least the early Between the Buried and Me stuff. So that really shines through with you guys. So what's the
Yeah,
writing
we definitely
process?
got a good bit. Oh, sorry, you go ahead.
No, you're good. You're good, man.
I would say with between the because I know we just put out the Better Left Unsaid EP, and we got some comparisons on that to even like Mordecai from Between the Buried, and I wrote that song. And while I was writing it, at no point did I think like, oh, if I do this at this point, it'll sound like that Between the Buried and Me song. And like that was something that never necessarily crossed my mind. But then by the time I'm listening back to it and I see someone say that about it, I'm just like, all right, yeah, maybe there was some sort of like unconscious influence kind of like leaking into it. I guess I can't necessarily get away from that.
Yeah, yeah. So what's the writing process like? Is somebody primarily directing it, or people just bringing in things and seeing if they work? How's that work?
It's kind of a little bit of both. Mike and Matt are the primary songwriters, but they have very, very different approaches to doing so. Mike's very, very traditional. It's very like literally meat and potatoes. He gets riffs that he writes down or videos on his iPhone. Like he doesn't have an interface. He doesn't have any kind of recording DAW. Like Mike is as old school as they get, and he'll string together a whole bunch of riffs, make up a fake name for each riff, write them in order in his notebook, and take a whole bunch of videos of himself playing it, and then come to practice and literally just jam the whole song by himself on a guitar. And he's got the whole thing in his head. Like he knows what the drums sound like, kind of. He's got like a vibe for what maybe the second guitar is doing. And you have to sort of just like, there's this trust that goes into it because we've done it for so long together that most people would hear his process and just be like, dude, that just sounds like a hodgepodge of riffs because we can't hear what you're hearing. But we've almost got this extra level of communication that we're able to do without speaking, where we can kind of see where he's going with a song before it even happens. Like he's jamming on it and he's like, yeah, the drums will be kind of like, and we're like, yeah, okay, that makes sense. And then we'll hash it out. Like usually Matt and Mike will play around some beats over his riffs. Sometimes we'll sit in for that and make suggestions. And then once we kind of have a basic structure of the song, that's where I'll come in, color in my bits, do my bits on the guitars, and then bass Jeremy will do. And then and then last bit is Matt does vocal. He does all the lyric writing, and for Mike and I to do the vocals on, which is kind of like a weird thing that happens. A lot of people think that Mike and I write the lyrics, but we don't. So yeah,
What
that's kind of
instrument does Mike
that's
play?
the Mike plays guitar
Okay, so
And
two
does
guitars.
and vocals.
I gotcha.
Yeah, it's a dual guitar, dual vocal thing.
It's pretty sick, man.
And then my songs, I write everything on Guitar Pro. I cannot play guitar. I grew up being able to play certain like more, I guess, melodic instruments like piano and saxophone. I don't really play them as much as I would like to now, but so I guess I have a sense for melody and harmony and all of those important aspects of writing songs, but I have no idea how the fuck to play a guitar. We're allowed to swear, right?
Oh
That's
yeah,
fine.
yeah. Go
Too
for
late.
it.
Okay. And so I will go basically entirely off sound, and I will write riffs and basically put together entire songs, because like by the time I'm writing riffs, I can also think of what drum beats I want to play underneath them, since I get to dictate that. But it still takes an aspect, even though it's a little bit more of like, by the time I'm presenting my final product in front of the band, it definitely is a little bit more like I'll usually have guitar parts and a drum part, and oftentimes a solid amount of the bass parts as well. So it's a bit more complete, the product that I have, but like it still takes a lot of like faith and communication in the other people in the band, just because like if it wasn't for them figuring out how to finger everything correctly, transpose stuff when it might not be as feasible as I thought it was, like basically all of the faults of the fact that I am writing music for guitars but I can't play guitar, they will come in and help with that.
How do
Cleanup
you
crew.
how do you write guitar in Guitar Pro if you don't know what you're doing? You just like guessing, just
Sound.
messing around? Okay.
It's sound. It's purely sound.
You should have seen the early days where we had to figure out how to actually play it on guitars. Now he's gotten a little bit more of like a head around what a guitar kind of does, and I would say you're like 80% there. But there's still parts where I'm just like, dude, you can't do that with your hand. Like it's not a thing you can do. So
And every time that I wanted like say like, oh, I'm worried about like, does this riff seem feasible? Mike will always go, literally, don't worry about that. Like Mike is always just
Yeah.
like, I don't care if it's not playable, just write what you're gonna write and let me worry about it after that, because he always likes what I come up with. So again, it's very trust based, our writing process.
there's something about playing guitar and that you kind of always fall into your boxes that you're used to. You kind of grab the guitar, the neck feels the way it does, and you have your go-to tropes. And having a drummer write guitar parts without any knowledge of how to physically play a guitar makes you do like you look at these riffs and you go, I would never do that. And I think that's what creates some of the more interesting bits that we have, because it's someone writing guitar without a guitar.
Yeah.
It's dumb luck. I
It's
introduce
dumb
an
luck.
aspect of dumb luck.
Well, honestly, I think that's how a lot of music's written. Just dumb luck. That's how I do it, man. It just comes out, you know.
Hell
So you also write the lyrics. Hold on, I lost all my notes. Hold on one sec. Oh, where was it? Okay, yeah. You also write the lyrics. It's unconventional to have someone that doesn't actually sing write the lyrics. How did that come along?
He had ideas.
Yeah, it started pretty early. Like it wasn't always like that, but it was pretty much as long as as Cryptodira has been releasing music, I have been writing the lyrics. And it really just came from like, yeah, I mean, in high school, I was Nietzsche and I was probably fucking insufferable. But I was able to, write stuff that was poetic sounding. Also, I like fucked with T.S. Eliot a lot. Also kind of insufferable, but like I kind of just had a sense for it. And then now I am much more ideologically correct, and so my lyrics are better than ever. And in fact, no one writes better lyrics than I do.
Okay, Trump, relax.
They're tremendous
Fucking
lyrics.
Matthew Trump.
But they're
The best lyrics. They're the best lyrics.
but
No
they're
one's ever written
against Trump, which makes them even more better. But yeah, so it kind of was just like one of those things that like when we were first becoming the current formation of this band, we had already realized like, we've been playing with each other forever. We don't have to necessarily go by some like pre-made script. We can just figure out whatever works, and it was just something that kind of worked. And so I took over writing lyrics, and even like I'll do a solid bit of like placement when it comes to like for the non-clean singing. It's pretty easy because growl or scream vocals are pretty much rhythmic devices, so it's just sort of like finding like convincing rhythms that sort of back up the riffs underneath it. When it comes to singing, also just because it can write music based off of like the sound of it and have a pretty solid sense of like what sounds good. I'll just be like, all right, well, what about this little melody? But it always comes down to also basically going through it with him, and he'll also have ideas that I don't hear, and also like when I have an idea and it's just like, holy shit, how am I supposed to do that while I'm playing the guitar? Then we'll not to say that it's like a compromise at that point, but I still need a little help from my friends, and I get that.
Yeah, because the band has this interesting composition of vocals where in the early days it was just me. I just did scream vocals and clean singing. Then Mike got involved in the fold and really added an extra dimension to it that was missing, with more or a totally different kind of scream. So you listen to the music, the low sort of more traditional death metal sounding growl or whatever is me. All the clean vocals are me, and then all the sort of goblin freak screams are Mike. But so, especially when it comes to clean vocals, like Matt was saying, when he'll write these melody ideas, and then I'll sit down with the guitar and go, okay, that'll work, that won't work. That's a pain in the ass. That has to be changed. This has to land here. And then we'll sort of like go through it, because we learned our lesson the hard way a few times back in the early days, where it's like shit that I committed to that I shouldn't have. So now we, at least when it comes to like melodic stuff and placements, it's a little more collaborative, where like like I know specifically for the Angel of History, we sat right in these very seats, working out a couple of the tracks, and it was just a nightmare. But like that's it though. Like Matt said, there's a lot of trust that goes into it. I know that he's writing things that have like the music's best interest in mind. So instead of being a baby about it and being like, I'm not doing that, that's way too hard. I can't play that part there. I always go like, all right, let's give this a fucking shot. Let's see what you can do. I'm not committing to it, but let's give it a shot. Let's see what we can do.
Oh wait, also worth mentioning. Ever since our current bassist Jeremy has been in the band since 2017. So not like as far as the history of the band goes, relatively recently. But he has also started to take his hand at writing music. He writes music in much of the same way that I do, of like writing on Guitar Pro. But because he's a bassist, like has a bit more of a sense for like basically it's much more that he'll write riffs and then be like, all right, here's my ideas for the drum parts, but like I don't know how to program drums, and then I'll take over from there. And I'll still put the lyrics and vocal placements on top of that. But that's how our most recent single that came out, "A Tendency to Fall," that's a Jeremy song.
Oh, that's
So
one of the
not
better
only
ones
did
on the
he-
on the album.
Yep. Not only did he get his debut, but he wrote our what's it called, our Liquid Metal X Radio single.
I guess that is what you could call that. So Pizza Sushi Roll wants to know what's the relevance of the album title "Angel of History."
Haha. Okay.
Strap
Angel,
in.
yeah, Angel of History is based off of Walter Benjamin, who was a literary critic, philosopher, just kind of like one of those like early 20th century kind of like jack of all trade thinkers. He wrote a short thesis called Theses on the Philosophy of History. There was one where he was looking specifically at a painting of Paul Klee called Angelus Novus. And based off of that painting, which I still look at that painting to this day and don't get how he got this much meaning out of it, because it's kind of a rough painting, but like I'm not, I guess, totally a fan of Klee's style, but he was. So I'm going to give it to him. But based off that painting, he theorized what became known as one of the dialectical images, which was the Angel of History. And the Angel of History is a figure that is sort of bound to this threefold modality where they are constantly trying to take account of all of the wreckage and disaster and horror and everything from the past, which is just piling up, it seems, with every day there's a new nightmare, a new tragedy, and trying to take account of all of it in a properly revolutionary mindset. But they are also, while doing that, backward facing in the present, constantly hesitating, constantly stagnating because they are bound up over the past, trying to think of all these things, trying to take account of all of these things. And because of the brute succession of time, are at the same time being blown backward facing into the future. And it like captures that kind of like horrifying aspect of both trying to do like to properly account for and respect the past, while also not letting that take up too much of the present, so that no forward proper intentional steps are taken into the future. So it ultimately, like, that kind of sounds a little dark, but he had a very messianic and a very bright way of thinking about history, which is what I wanted much more with this album to kind of get across, like the proper political responsibility of acknowledging the fact that a lot of shit is bad, but also not letting that then like mire us into the straits or the rivets of pessimism or hopelessness or any other like nihilism, like certain cultural modes that are just far too easy, as opposed to true optimism for the future.
Damn, dude, that is
So, yeah.
deep.
I want to
This
just
is
point
why
out.
I write the lyrics.
I just want to point out the juxtaposition of him giving that extremely well thought out and an intentional answer, and I was popping a beer on the side of the frame, trying to be as quiet as I possibly could in the middle of his very, very, very thoughtful thing. Cheers.
Or where was it? Okay, yeah. So I get the idea. There's a story happening here. I kind of have a high school reading level, so I'm not 100% sure because you use some pretty big words. But yeah, is there a story to this? I feel like it's a concept album.
Not really.
Okay.
Not really.
So there is a conceptual and so it's not a concept album as in there is a consistent narrative necessarily, like we're following a character or something much more like intuitively congealed like that. It is conceptual in the fact that it is consistently dealing with a certain basket of concepts that get developed, I'm going to say dialectically, but that probably for a lot of people won't mean too much in this sense. Like dialectics really just means the fact that a certain way or a certain concept, a certain idea, a certain thought, let's call it like the idea of justice. That's not something that just stands still. That's not something that is outside of history. It's something that has its own self movement inside of it. As people think it, as people engage with it, as it gets spoken about and dealt with, it changes forms, but there is also something always slightly the same, which is that name, justice. So that movement, despite the fact that the word stays the same, that is what I will refer to as dialectics in this context. I am so far away from your original answer right now, but I'm going to try to get back right now. So it is conceptual, but it's not following it's not a concept album in the sense of, again, like it's following a specific character. It is trying to, in musical and partially like kind of like like poetic form, deal with a set of concepts and how they interact with one another and how they might ultimately work towards reconciliation, which is like the largest concept. Reconciliation, both in a personal sense of like trying to leave behind guilt, trying to leave behind despair, trying to leave behind any form of thinking that may have held a useful like any kind may have had utility at one point, but now it's outlived its welcome, and now it just makes us stagnate and makes us feel sad and makes us on that personal level too, but also in a larger sense of reconciliation, of historical reconciliation, basically socialism. The album's about socialism. That's, I could have just said that, and a minute and a half ago it would have been so much easier. But I don't want to just say that and be like, oh, this dude's just a socialist. I'm smart, and that's why I'm a socialist. That's what I was trying to get to.
Guy's like a philosophical farmer right now with the fucking overalls and books and shit.
I'm so sorry for rambling. That was peak rambling right there.
I think I actually saw him fall asleep for a minute.
I caught myself. Did you study like writing in school or something? Because like it's like very flowery kind of words. You know what I mean?
Yeah, a lot of what I know about philosophy was self-taught. I am currently in a master's program for philosophy, but like that was totally post festum. Like, not to say that I haven't learned anything. Like, I've been in there for a year and I've, met some great people and some great professors and learned things that I would have never learned if I had not been in that program. But a lot of, especially with this album, because most of the lyrics and music and like the concept itself was kind of set in stone before I even started that program. Like, it was sort of just the product of my own personal reading list. I just really like reading. I don't even think I like have fun doing it. I think I just have to and want to.
Okay. So I just want to remind chat that you guys could drop questions, comments in the chat, and I'll read them out. Let's move on to recording. So you recorded this in early January with the legendary Jamie King, who has worked with Between the Buried and Me, Abiotic, Through the Eyes of the Dead, just to name a few. What was that like?
It was fucking awesome, man. Jamie's an absolute legend. Like we spent a lot of years as kids like watching all the studio videos from like BT Bam, the Contortionists and shit, and just like it was like crazy because like we knew our way around the studio almost before we got there because we're just so used to what it looked like, from the internet. Yeah, no, Jamie's an absolute legend. It's like most producers when they get abandoned like us, their instinct is sort of to try to tame it almost. It's like, okay, there's a lot going on here. Let's see if we can narrow this down to a more digestible product. Jamie's instinct was the opposite, which is why we picked going with him, and we didn't regret it for a second. Like everything we did that was a little kooky, he was like, fuck yeah, brother, like let's do it again. Like throw a harmony on that, like that's just kind of what he did.
Maybe we should hold off on the Jamie King impressions while we're on the air.
Jamie would love it, man. The man's sense of humor is optimal. He's a great dude. Yeah, no, he was a blast to work with. He pushed the band musically. He totally understood what we wanted to go for. This kind of music is obviously his wheelhouse based on the bands he's worked with already. So it just sort of seemed like one of those matches that were like made in heaven and more or less like an inevitability more than like, oh, I can't believe they did that. It's like, yeah, of course they did that. So it seemed like it made sense to go there and give that a shot. But yeah, it was an awesome experience.
So he was trying to push y'all to be more technical, or?
Say again. I'm sorry.
You were saying that he's trying to push you guys forward, or push you guys more. Is that like to make the music more complicated, or what? How is he influencing you guys?
It wasn't less that he'd make it more complicated and more that he'd give space to do it and the time to do it. Whereas a lot of guys, like I said, would be maybe more instinctually to like kind of compress the band a little bit. And he was really helpful for vocals specifically because when we were doing singing parts, we typically just write a main melody and harmonies are kind of I don't want to say an afterthought, but they're an on-the-spot thought. So like we usually roll through it together. So Matt and I and Jamie sat together around his computer and we literally ran through every singing part in the album. And we're like, does that need a harmony? Okay, if yes, here we go. If no, move on. And on all the if yes parts, we're like, okay. And then three of us are like, how about ha ha ha? No, wait. How about ha ha ha? No, wait. And then we'd finally hit one that we liked. And I listen in my head. I would go, all right, hold on. And I would drop everything and run to the vocal booth and track it like really quickly, and then run back out. And we did that for like 3 hours probably.
Yeah,
like
that was like a whole ass day.
Yeah, it was like half a day.
Melodies. Like that was also like one of my fondest memories. Just me, Scott, and Jamie just sitting around in his studio listening to the same like 10-second
just on a loop
clip on a loop, and all of us are listening, going to like now. Oh,
that's the way. And it was like before I forget, and then I would like get in the booth and I'd be like, shit, what was it? And then they'd be like, it was that one. It was no, half step higher. Like, yeah, it was a lot of fun. He entertained all that instead of just being like, dude, who cares? Like, no one's gonna hear it anyway. That he's really into layering the and making it legible. So it was cool. It was a lot of fun, man. He's just a really creative guy and a very, very smart guy. Really, really smart guy.
Yeah, he really knows like how to strike balance between the fact that it's music that's meant to be played live. Like that, the appeal to it is that it's not meant to like not to say that there's like by itself anything wrong with I guess like bedroom projects, but like we are like because we bring a lot of energy to our live performances too, and because like we want to make the live performance, it's like that is the end product of like anything we put out is making you want to see us live. And so there is a balance between like, okay, so there are some layers, some harmonies, some like little effects here and there that like that might not make its way necessarily into a live performance, but it like at the same time it's he referred to it as an audio business card, I think. Like,
yeah
it's just like just give someone like a sort of like idealized version of what the music looks like, and whatever those little those little like extra layers or supplements that might not actually be there in the live sound itself, whatever's lost in that is made up and then some just from the sheer energy of the live show. So like being able to strike that balance between having the aspect of like the rawness, the like the fact that it really does sound like it ought to sound like when you're listening to it live, but also like not realizing like, yeah, you know, we can add a couple layers and a couple extra like frills here and there just to like, you know, make the recorded product something proper unto itself.
Yeah, I like the idea of the audio business card. That's pretty awesome. I was actually talking. Sorry, I was actually talking to Topin Dawes from Fuck the Facts. I don't know if you guys know who they are. But
Yeah.
anyway, okay, cool. So yeah, he was saying that he does a lot of like layering and multiple tracks and stuff, things that are just impossible for him to do live, just so that the recordings don't get sacrificed for the live experience. So it's kind of the same thing.
Totally. Yeah. And like, I think another reason why I went to Jamie was because he has an ability in like a world full of super overly processed bands and overly edited and like, you know, every single band uses the same fucking drum plugin and the same everything else. You're seeing this sort of like homogenization of metal sonics on records, and it's really something that's frustrating to us as a band. Like, it's really probably one of the things that drives us most insane. Especially in our type of music that's supposed to be like, yeah, you know how it is. It's super pin drop perfect, super tight, and like there's this missing aspect of like this organic aspect. So Jamie's famous for making bands sound like bands. So like, I really think when you listen to the Angel of History, it is a pretty good representation of like what you'll get when you see the band live. It's not like, oh yeah, no, they don't really sound like that, but they're cool, you know. It's not really like that. You're getting what Cryptodira sounds like with this album.
How long did the recording take?
3 weeks. About 3
That's
weeks
it?
of living in Jamie's basement.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, we maybe even slightly less because like 4 or 5 of those days were basically just Jamie hammering out some drum editing and stuff like that. So yeah, I mean, as far as actual days spent in the studio, it was probably about 2.5 weeks, maybe 18 days, 19 days, something like that.
I think it was close to 20. Also, like that was at the beginning of this year. That was end of January going into February. So the whole world was different. I don't know if anyone else remembers January and February of this year.
Yeah, recording this record was the last thing that we did.
Yeah, like we were just
Feels like
it's
years
gonna
and
be
years
sick.
ago,
We're
man.
gonna, like, we're gonna. This is gonna sound pretty awesome. We're gonna put it out. We're gonna go on tour.
And none of that
here
happened.
We are.
Yeah.
So
yeah, it wasn't too. Sorry, go ahead.
No, you're good. You're good. So you guys also recorded the EP at the same time. I assume it was more of like, oh, we got these extra tracks, let's throw them on an EP rather than deciding to do the EP before the album, right?
Yeah. So when we went into the studio, we had too much music, and we knew we had too much music, and you know we weren't about to put out an hour-long album in 2020. So those 2 songs, we weren't even sure that those were going to be the 2 songs initially when we went in. So the idea was just to like, sorry, Matt's cleaning up a beer drop that I did.
It's been stressing me out. I've just been looking at it. It's like,
it's terrible. Yeah, so we weren't sure what songs we're gonna make it and what weren't. And the idea was like record it all at once, and hopefully we had the time. And luckily, like we were able to burn through it all. Like, you know, in those 20 or whatever days, we did knock out like 60 minutes worth of music.
I recorded all of the drums in 2 days. I am still happy.
Jesus.
Please pat him on the back. He needs to feel good about it.
Virtual.
Yeah, just pat your webcams. Yeah, so like. We were lucky to get everything done, and then we had some tough decisions to make once we got the mixes back. But we knew we wanted the songs we ended up landing on with the Angel of History, not because any of them were really better. That wasn't the problem. The issue was that like what makes the most sense in context, like what flows the best, what kind of works with this song. Like the songs we knew were definitely going to make it. Okay, what of the extra songs lands properly? So that left Better Left Unsaid and Unequal Exchange as like their own things, but we liked those songs a lot. Like this wasn't, like I said, not a case of like, oh, we don't like those songs, like we'll just bury them. It was like, fuck, we want to do something with these. The initial plan was maybe singles, maybe split songs, maybe bonus tracks. Like we had no real idea what we wanted to do, and then the world literally flipped on its head and went on fire. So we had all this music and nowhere to go with it, like physically nowhere to drive and play music to. So instead of hanging on, like the initial instinct when you have spent so much time and money on a record is to hold on to everything and go like, okay, well, we got to make sure we roll this out perfectly. Like we can't screw this up. Like these are almost like our musical assets. But we took this opposite approach where we were like, fuck it. Like, we have so much more music that we're writing. How are we going to hang on to these songs? We can't wait till a pandemic is over to like release a record, or like, you know, like, we aren't that important. Let's just fucking get these songs out. We'll do better left unsaid. And then after that, fuck it, more music. We'll put out a whole record like a couple months later. And we got a lot of like we did the EP, and then like we announced the new record a couple weeks ago, and we got a like, holy shit already? Like, whoa, like we just got this EP. Like, oh my God. But that was kind of like the vibe we were going for. Like, we are already writing a third record. We have and all kinds of other like possible releases. Like, we just have so much music sitting around.
Quarantine has been one of the most like just unnecessary productive. Just so many emotions, so much free time. It's a powder keg for songs.
Maybe
Definitely.
we'll do a record release show for LP2 for the Angel of History and the third record on the same day, because that'll be probably by the time we are able to play a show again, we'll have a whole ass new record.
It'll be like, what's it called? Like, you know, June 2022, we should be able to play shows again.
Yeah. So anyway, like, the idea was like, yeah, fuck it. Like, let's just drop it and go. You know, we can record a new record if we need more music. So, yeah, that's how it came into an EP and also an LP.
Yeah, I like the idea of releasing the EP and then a couple months later the LP, because it keeps you guys relevant and like lets people know, hey, we're still around, and then you get a bigger reaction when you drop the full album.
Yeah, it's been cool, man. Like I said, like everyone's just been a little confused. Like, holy shit, just got a few songs. Like, all right, fuck it, yeah, give me more songs. So, like,
How's the reaction to the EP been? And the new song? I guess you have a single out from this one too.
What's that?
I said, I guess you have a single out from this one too. So what's the overall reaction been?
I mean, Better Left Unsaid was cool because that was our first release since 2017. We did Devil's Despair, our first album. So like, we did the first record. We just gotten signed. It was our first signed release. And then we fucked off for 3 years touring. We toured the States. We did Europe twice. We did all this stuff. So the last frame of reference we had for releasing music was the Devil's Despair, which is a really cool reaction. Almost like we're putting out Better Left Unsaid. Like, okay, how many people like us now? You know, like, now that we've done this for 3 years, like, what's this reaction going to be like? And it was fun. It was really cool, especially with when we announced the Angel of History pre-order.
Wait, hold on really quick. I'm gonna run and grab another beer. Do you want one?
No, I'm good.
Okay.
That was terribly unprofessional. So when it came to the Angel of History announcement, because Better Left Unsaid was fully digital, there was no copies of that on vinyl or CD.
Really? Okay.
So it wasn't a proper. Yeah, no, that was just a full, you know, here's Spotify, here's a little music video, like, listen to it. So there wasn't like a real way of gauging what the reception would be, like, in terms of like units moved or whatever. Like, not that we really look at that too much, but so anyway, the point is, when we did the LP pre-orders, and the reaction was very like, oh my God, like, where can I get this in Europe? Like, why is there no UK distribution? And we're like, shit, like, all right, people care about the band outside of this country now. Like, that's really cool. We didn't have that problem for the Devil's Despair. Nobody asked for it in Europe. So we had to sort out European distribution right after that, and that was really cool. So the experience of that has been awesome. It's been very rewarding to see people like worldwide caring about this band that we put together in our basement years ago.
Who's putting it out in Europe?
It's still put out by Good Fight, but it's being distributed by Death Wish Inc. Over in Europe. Yeah, it's like a partnership kind of distribution thing. Yeah. So like Good Fight just gives them a whole bunch of copies of the album, and Death Wish sells it. So that's been really cool too, because we're big ass Converge fans. So like, a weird like personal level, it's like, oh fuck yeah, we're on the Death Wish site. That's cool.
Seeing Death Wish just tweet like, oh, if anyone wants in the Europe, UK wants copies of The Angel of History, pre-orders available here, and it's just like, I didn't even realize
that's fucking cool.
Yeah, that they would be involved in that.
Yeah, it was. We didn't really set that up either. We just like got an email one day. It was just like, hey, it was going. Death Wish is doing it in Europe. We were like, fuck yeah, hell yeah, that rules.
So who did your cover art?
The cover art was done by a guy named Adam Burke. He lives in Portland, Oregon. His art's name is Nightjar Illustration. He also did The Devil's Despair, so it's kind of like.
Dude, I was gonna ask. It looks very similar to that one. I was gonna ask if it was the same guy.
Very purposely, yeah. That was very intentionally done.
Is that like a friend
Adam's
of y'all's?
done Fifth for an Autopsy. Say again?
Is that like a friend of y'all's? Or is it just someone y'all wanted to work with?
No. We just we were doing The Devil's Despair, and we were looking like for something totally way better than anything we'd done prior. Like, and that's not even to like say anything we'd done prior on our EPs and demos weren't cool, but like we really wanted for our first album to go like way above and beyond. So we spoke to our manager, and he was aware of Adam's work. He's like, just check this guy's style out, see if you like it. And we were like, holy shit, this guy's not kidding around, man. Like, he doesn't do any graphic design work. It's literally just as old fashioned as it gets, much like the band. Is just like, he had a canvas and paint, and he would just paint and high res scan and send you the art, and that's it. He's like, I don't put your name on it. I don't do your album jacket. I don't do like your text. Like, that's all up to you to figure out. I just give you a high resolution scan of the painting. Yep. So we had our buddy do all the like the actual like text placement and stuff like that. Our friend Sean Kelly. But yeah, Adam is just a pure artist, and that's why his shit is so cool. If you like zoom in really like close on those album covers, both of them, you can actually see like the paintbrush strokes and stuff on it. It's really fucking cool, especially when you have like the vinyl in your hand.
That's badass. So there's an actual painting somewhere then. I guess he has it, or did he give it to you guys? Or
so he offers like a discount rate to the bands, and I actually have a really funny story about that. When we did the Devil's Despair, we were broke as shit, like really broke because it was the first record. So he basically sells you the rights to the painting because his livelihood is art. He sells his paintings in like his galleries and online and whatnot. He does give the band a discounted and early bird sort of like, hey, before I put this online to sell it, you can have it for less money. But we were broke as dog shit, and we were like, well, that sucks. I guess we're just gonna have to let it go. So we told him, no, like, you're cool, man. You could sell it. You do your thing. And then we didn't think about it for like a year or so. And then one day, our friend Will Putney, who owns a studio in New Jersey, he has worked with Adam a bunch of times, and he noticed that Adam put our painting up for sale on Facebook. He's like, hey, I have a bunch of paintings that are up right now. They're up kind of prices, and one of them was our album cover. So Will tagged me in it right away. He's like, yo, Scott, like, if you want this record, if you want the painting, like, jump on it. And at that point, it had been about a year, and we had a little more money, and I was like, oh, I would love to get it. And I immediately ran on it. I was maybe like 4 hours after he tagged me. I was busy when I didn't see it when he first tagged me. And somebody had bought it in 4 hours.
damn.
And I was like, fuck. So I hit up Adam right away. I was like, did someone actually buy it? I saw they commented that they wanted it. Did they actually buy it? He's like, dude, I'm sorry. Like, he's like, because they're a buyer, like, I can't tell them I can't sell it to them. But if you want, you can reach out to the buyer, maybe ask them if they'll sell it to you or like turn it over to you or whatever. And I was like, nah, man, it's all good. So I have this weird thing in the back of my head where I feel like one day I'll get my hands on that painting again. But for now, somebody completely who probably doesn't know who the band is, and we definitely don't know who they are, owns the painting for the Devil's Despair. For the Angel History, I want to see if we can get our hands on it. We might.
I'd be happy to throw in some
dosh,
some buckaroos.
Yeah, I'm glad you brought it up because I forgot actually, and I want to maybe talk to the band about buying that one, not let it slip through our fingers again.
Dude, hell yeah, you guys should buy it, put in your practice spot.
Yeah, and if someone out there happens to be listening to this and you own the Devil's Despair painting, fucking give it to me, please.
We will buy it at a premium. That is valuable artwork.
How much did it sell for?
Probably like $400 or $500, something like that. I think. I don't really know. It's in that range is typically what he like charges, I think, but I don't know if like things sit around if they get cheaper or whatever. But so I don't know the final sale price, but it's definitely a couple $100. His stuff is not cheap because it's worth that for sure. Like his stuff is incredible.
And he didn't like put y'all's name on it or anything, being like, oh, the cover of Devil's Despair. No,
not that I'm aware of. No, I mean, because they are his original pieces. We just sort of give him art direction. And what's really cool about him, man, is like that's another process that requires an insane amount of trust. Where Matt will come up with a concept and we'll write him maybe like a 5 or 6 sentence paragraph and go like, here's generally what we're going for. Here's the general color palette we want. Can you make this happen? Send us a sketch, and we're like, shit. He nailed that. Like, that's pretty good. Like, maybe adjust this, that, the other thing. And then he gets one sketch. And then once the sketch is done, you get the full painting. And it's like, we've never been disappointed. He's incredible.
It is kind of like nice in that aspect because like the sort of like polyvocal aspect of the band, like the fact that, you know, it's not just one person that's just dictating all of these things and you're getting the you know, the product of one person's vision, but rather the music itself is just, you know, bound from multiple different people trying to figure out how to make something sound good. And then also with like the other now, like, yeah, I have like I like would type up a paragraph and just be like, here are some images. The color palette was something that Mike and Scott were especially like very much had a lot of ideas for. We wanted to definitely depart from a lot of the much more darker aspects of the Devil's Despair, while still like having it be like, you know, the same, like painted, like the texture is similar, but the overall feel and look is something totally different. And so like I came up with like some conceptual idea. Like basically we just sent him that what's it called, that thesis by Walter Benjamin that I described a little bit earlier, but adding a couple of my own twists to it. And then like, you know, they came up with like the color palette too, and then I had no idea exactly what it was going to look like, besides again those general images or concepts that I had in mind. But I feel like it's always better, especially when working with someone, not to have a fixed image, because you can open yourself up to stuff that you didn't even know that you wanted to see. And so I was so happy with and am so happy with the cover artwork on this record and the last one too.
Do you think he actually read the thesis?
It was very short, so I actually do.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's like less than a page.
Yeah.
So like that specific, like it's not too much. Also, like Walter Benjamin makes his way into a whole bunch of like art theory, so like you can just read that for clout. Like anyone like moseys into like a fucking gallery and starts talking about the work of art in the age of mechanical reproduction, like immediately people are just like, oh
Yeah,
shit, that
everyone's
guy,
like,
that guy
dude,
knows what he's talking
that
about.
guy's fucking cool. Yeah. Yeah. It wasn't long. Adam's a very, very, very artistic dude, obviously. So when he read it, he was like, dude, this concept rocks. I'm really excited to dig into this. Also, Pizza Sushi wants to know if pineapple belongs on pizza. And I have a very hard stance on this. Fucking no. No, it doesn't fucking belong on pizza.
Oof,
Okay.
hard
Stop putting
agree.
fucking pineapple on. Fuck that.
All right,
He's gonna say some bullshit right now, so just take care of
so
yourself.
here's the thing. I have not yet had, because I'm vegan and I've had vegan pizza, but like ever since making the vegan plunge, have not had pineapple pizza. But when I did have pineapple pizza before taking that plunge, I was fine with it. And so you know what? Like if you really don't like pineapple on pizza, just don't order it.
That's fine, but
That's all
fuck
it
you.
takes.
The question was not, do I have to order it? The question was, does it belong on pizza? To which the answer is no.
And that's what you can tell your fucking pizza cashier. And if you want to take this fucking like just aggressive of a stance to someone that's trying to just do their job for a minimum wage, then fuck you.
I didn't say that. I worked at a pizzeria for 10 fucking years. I
Jesus.
feel like I'm allowed to speak on this. Okay.
So what if someone got on the phone with you and just like was just like, don't you fucking put pineapples on that pizza? I swear to God, if you put pineapple on the pizza, I will cut your head off.
Okay, that wasn't the question. The question was, does it belong? And the answer is no. Moving on. Case closed.
What is your best pizza? Like what's on your pizza?
I'm a vegetarian, so like I don't eat meat or anything. So for me, I'm a big fan of like peppers and onions. But we're from New York, so we are gigantic pizza snobs. A good regular slice of pizza is unbeatable to me. Like, yes, you can put all kinds of really cool shit on it, but like at the end of the day, if I need a slice of pizza, I need a trustworthy, good, traditional, regular slice of pizza.
Okay. Are you all vegetarian or?
Jeremy, our bass player, is not at the moment. He kind of fades in and out.
I thought he was sticking with it. Did he cower it out?
I don't know. It's hard for
I feel
him.
like
It
he's
depends.
Been consistent, but
No, it depends on which way the wind blows for him, man. I don't think he is right now.
all right. So every member of the band that matters is at least vegetarian.
Yeah, Mike and I are veg. Matt's vegan, and Jeremy depends on what day it is.
I'm the most powerful.
Okay, so you guys got signed to Good Fight pretty early on in your career, releasing your debut with them. How did you guys hook up with them?
When we were doing our demos for the Devil's Despair, our manager was kind of poking around, and we spoke to all the big like metal guys or whatever. And being that we are the kind of band that we are, you get a lot of this. You get a lot of, oh man, that band's really cool, but talk to us when they're really big, because nobody wants to take a chance on a band like ours, because we're not flash in the pan kind of music where you just put out a single and it's like, oh, that's gonna get you fucking 2 million Spotify plays. It's very much a growing process sort of band. Like you look at a band like Dillinger, you look at a band like BT Bam or a band like Opeth or whatever. None of those bands started out really huge. Like they don't have a huge first record that they're like fucking playing for 3,000 people. They're bands that are bigger now than they've ever been. Obviously, besides Dillinger's, they broke up. But the day that Dillinger broke up, they were the biggest band they've ever been.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So
Rest in peace.
rest in peace to
Rest
the
in
best.
peace.
But so that kind of approach is what we go for, and so we're not a very financially appealing band for a label to start with. So everybody wants our third or fourth or fifth album was the vibe that we were getting, basically, which was fine with us because these were labels that were probably too big for our kind of music, where they probably would have fucked us in the end anyway.
Like we probably they're great labels, but for a band our size, we probably would have been put on the back burner, and like basically would have been forgotten about for an album or two or three. But we were caught in the contract with them, so then we just like get on the other side of that, owing them a bunch of money.
Yeah, so it was important for us to like find a label that gave a shit about the band, not a label that you just definitely heard of, you know. So after a few more conversations, Good Fight had expressed some interest, and we thought that was really cool. And then we just kept exploring options just to keep our shit rounded. And then they kept coming back, which was really cool to us because, like I said, not a lot of labels are like willing to jump on a band like ours. So the fact that they kept coming around to a bunch of freaks like us was like, all right, these guys mean it. Like they definitely like what we're doing here. They're not just trying to like cash in on us or get us locked into some ass contract or something like some Victory Records bullshit. So yeah, it just seemed like a natural fit. They were very organic, they're very indie, they're very grassroots, a lot like our band is. So, you know, they're just a couple of dudes who put out awesome records. It's not suit and tie shit. It's not I'm gonna make you famous kid shit. It's just like just dudes who were in metalcore and hardcore bands growing up who wanted to like put out cool music. So it's kind of just a match made in heaven on that front.
Well, it's still like a pretty good sized label, like to sign you guys for your debut release after you just put out one song. It was just one song on the split, right? So like how
actually the split we didn't do with them. No, they took The Devil's Despair as their first.
Well, no,
release.
I'm
Yeah,
saying before that though, you just put out one song before you put out the debut.
Yeah,
and, like them willing to like take you in, like that's still insane. It's a pretty large label.
They took us on basically demos of The Devil's Despair because prior to that we had done, you know, like EPs in before the split, but they're bedroom recordings. They were demos essentially that we toured on, and we liked the DIY ethic of the band. I think the fact that we were able to put ourselves on tour on demo recordings without having label support, and we've done that for a few years.
It makes it like Mike isn't on the call, but
yeah,
it's Mike like spent so much time like way early, like when we were like 19, 20, 21, 22, just constantly like over Facebook finding fucking local promoters, somehow stringing together 28-day long tours that are entirely DIY down to Florida, over to fucking Alabama, up through Chicago, like back over to the north, and like not a single day was wasted too. And like obviously because it's all DIY, like it was a lot of shows that we ate shit on, and like, you know, we tried to get guarantees, but we did not always get those guarantees because they didn't have to answer to a fucking tour manager or anything like that. So like, but like we did that for 4 years, 5
something like
years.
That, yeah.
Like we were just, and like we, all things considered, like even if we didn't get that kind of in for having much more like well organized and structured tours and tour managers and booking agents and all of that much more suit and tie shit. Even if we didn't get that, we would have just kept doing it for as long as we were literally capable of doing it. I forgot what I was originally talking
basically
about.
Yeah, so Good Fight signed on because they liked the ethic. They liked that we were doing all these things by ourselves, and we put out these self-released things and splits and demos and EPs and blah 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 blah. But then when they heard the demos for The Devil's Despair, they were like, all right, this band means it. Like they'll put in the work themselves. They're not gonna sign to our label and call us every 5 minutes and be like, well, why aren't we huge yet? You know. So it's been very much like a working relationship with them, and it's very like A and B, and not just like, you know, us suckling for money or them begging us to make them money. It's very much a symbiotic thing.
Well, so you basically I'm sorry, allergies are a bitch right now. So you basically answered the question, but do you have any advice for the up and coming bands? Like, what are bands doing wrong? What should they be doing to catch a label's eye? That kind of thing.
So it's rough right now with the pandemic because live shows are in. So like I honestly,
let's assume there's shows. Let's do under normal circumstances. We don't know shit from shit when it comes to this.
Normal circumstances, because like right now, like the whole idea of a bedroom project and getting into streaming and all of that stuff that may have been typically considered kind of like more vain or like vanity driven aspects of it, those are actually turning out to be pretty solid loci of exposure and experience right now, and being able to know your way around streaming is important. But if like all things normal, fucking play shows,
Eat shit.
yeah, play shows, just and play shows good, like
No,
practice
really.
like make sure your live show, like it doesn't matter if fucking 3 people are there and those 3 people are the only members of the bands that open for you that decided to stay around long enough to see your set. If there's anyone in the audience, just play for them like you're playing to 1,000 fucking people. Like, just love the music and love live performance and do it because you want to do it. That is literally, like, it's hard to say like this is advice. It's, if anything, like it's just what we were doing because it's what we wanted to do. But like that just happened to be the thing that like I guess we just always had a consistent sense of like, we're not doing this because we want to be famous. Like if we wanted to be famous writing music, we wouldn't be fucking playing progressive death metal. But there is something just so attractive about this music to us and the culture to us and playing live to us and being able to be on a stage and playing to anyone, whether it's 3 people, whether it's like 1,500 people. Like, it's just so much fun and we get so much joy out of it. And when you can get that joy out of it, like you start like the economic calculations of it, like that starts to, it gets thrown out for the most part. But along the way, you realize that you made far more well-placed economic calculations than you realized you were making.
Basically, be willing to eat shit. You can't. I think everybody wants to start a band and everybody wants to play the shows that they went to go see when they were a kid, but very few people want to actually. I think they stop short of doing the thing they absolutely have to do that. There was moments when we were young and starting our getting this band off the ground in high school and shit, where every one of us was expected to go away to college. Like, okay, like, well, you're finishing high school, like pick your college, fuck off to some other state, and then that's it. And we were all like, yeah, we're not going to do that. We're going to stay home. We'll go to college or whatever, but we're going to do it here. We're going to stay in this band. And that's a conversation most kids don't want to have with their parents. I'm not going to fucking SUNY Cortland or something. I'm staying here and I'm doing this music thing.
And your mom's like, no, you're going.
Yeah, we literally had the know you're going conversation. And then we had to have the no, we're fucking not conversation. And then, on top of that, then you book your first tour if you're lucky enough to actually string together all those dates like Mike did and put in all the fucking hours of messaging random promoters, be willing to play for $75 and eat a whole bunch of shit. And then let's say you get that tour booked. Now you talk to your boss at work and you go, dude, I need 2 weeks off of work. I'm going to go on tour. And they go, okay, well, you need to find a new job when you get back then because you don't work here anymore. Be willing to have that conversation with your boss and either be willing to lose your job or be willing to work out a way to not lose your job. And these things aren't glamorous. They're not for everybody. I'm not saying like, fuck it, you got $2 to your name, go quit your job. But if this is what you want, be willing to eat the shit. Be willing to take the plunge a little bit.
Then when you're on tour, you get to the shows on time, even if the fucking promoter is not there until 2 hours after doors are supposed to open. You're there a half hour before doors open. Because like just having that like, even if it's a semblance of professionalism, just like realizing like there's a time that loading's supposed to be. Do everything you can to get there on time.
Just get there.
And if there's some local bands that are opening for you, fucking say hi to them. Check their merch.
Watch the band.
Like, yeah, watch them. Like, be engaged in all of it because they're also a part of the entire live music experience. Just like never think that you are above any aspect of it.
And I don't want to drag it out, but like all the meaningful connections we have in this musical world are literally from just being cool and hanging out. Not being above anything like Matt said. And we just did last year in 2019, we went on tour with Veil of Maya and Intervals, which was the biggest tour the band had done at the time. And so we were kind of shitting our pants a little bit. Like we had done some decent sized tours, but that was like our our biggest one to date, you know, with like all the necessary parties involved. So we were like, okay, if the day sheet says you are supposed to get there at 3:30, we're gonna get there at 3. And then we would plan to get there really at like 2:30. So we were getting there about an hour earlier than we had to be every single day. And then we were on stage when we were supposed to be. We were off stage when we were supposed to be. You know, don't take fucking 20 minutes in between setting up and breaking down. Like, just do everything quickly. And the biggest compliment we got from Veil Maya and Interval's respective crews was very like, you guys are the easiest fucking band in the world to work with. I'm going to tell everybody about your band. And we were very small, but every big band is not necessarily looking for the biggest opener, because openers are essentially just not big. That is part of the job, is to not be big. That's why you're the opener. So they're looking for one that's going to be easy. You're not going to show up and make their life miserable. You're not going to make the show run off time. You're just going to be fucking easy to work with. And so, yeah, just be cool. Just be cool and be willing to eat shit.
And also be willing to hang out.
Well, that's one of the things I've been hearing ever since I announced that I was going to talk to you guys. I've been getting all sorts of comments from people saying that you guys are the coolest dudes and everything. So it's your reputation for that is starting to take hold.
That's great. I love that. I love everybody.
So
We do mean it. It's not some like weird. We're not like reptile people that are just like, oh, we have to just appear cool so that we can expand our clout. By that
we like hanging out, man.
We just fucking love to hang out.
well, I get that sense from you guys. So yeah, it's yeah, I would say you guys are cool. So you guys,
you're cool too.
So you guys stream watch parties. I didn't get a chance to catch the last one. What made y'all want to do that?
So are the two guys who are not here right now, Jeremy and my biggest fucking movie buffs ever met in my entire life. So being that COVID like absolutely ruined the entire world, we decided we had to stop being so old fashioned and get into some of this streaming shit. And, you know, because it's all really cool stuff. It was just territory we never ventured into prior. So we're like, well, what do people stream? You know, it's like video games and, you know, Q&As and whatever musical stuff, which we said we were going to do. But because Mike and Jeremy are such massive movie buffs, they're like, yo, what if we figure out a way to stream movie parties where we can chat and bring in some friends or whatever. So being that Amazon owns Twitch, fuck you, Jeff Bezos, we're allowed to stream Amazon Prime movies on Twitch without it being illegal. So like I can't stream. Yeah, so you can't stream Netflix obviously on Twitch because that's Netflix's product. People have to subscribe to Netflix to be able to watch a Netflix movie. But if you subscribe with Prime on Twitch, where the fuck we're on now, you can start a Prime watch party, and anyone who has Prime can then watch the movie along with you. So the big window will be the movie, and then we'll have Mike and Jeremy kind of tucked in the corner and just kind of like chatting and goofing around during the movie. Obviously, not in such a way where we can't watch the movie. So then we had some movie buff friends on the first one we did. We had our buddy Carson from the Callous Cowboys, another really cool mathcore band. Really fun. They have an incredible record coming out. Like I'm gonna be that guy right now. I'm gonna be Brad guy. I've heard the record. It's fucking awesome.
It's better than the last one.
And then we had Nolan. No, the new one. It's not out yet.
Oh yeah, but it's better than the last one they put out.
Oh yeah, no, fuck yeah. And Dion Mars absolutely fucking shreds.
Dude, I was gonna say that was my album of the year. Like that shit's amazing.
It kicks its ass. It's awesome.
Dion Mars is sick, but also the new music also sounds really sick.
Yeah.
Damn,
fucking, and then we had Nolan from the band Vatican on as well. So it was Nolan, Carson, and then our Jeremy and Mike, and just so much fun, man. Like it was something that like
Vatican also very good.
Vatican whoops ass. Yeah, that band absolutely shreds. And yeah, so I just watched the stream as a bystander because it had nothing to do with me. Like it was just my bandmates doing the thing, and like it was so much fun. Just like watching them all riff off about these like really bad horror movies. Like it's definitely something we're going to be doing a lot of.
That was the second time you guys have done it, right? Y'all tried to do it on Instagram before?
We done a Netflix party during the heavy lockdown of the pandemic. So that was not videoed because Netflix parties fully chat. So on Instagram Live, they would chat about it beforehand, and then we'd all jump over to the Netflix party. So that was a little bit different. This is way better because you can literally just log on and watch the stream while it's happening. And, you know, the chat's not just text chat. It's actually like a video.
That's tight. So, Pizza Sushi Roll wants to mention that you guys said you're not reptile people, but you named your band after turtles. So,
we're not reptile people, but we named our band we just got called the fuck out.
Look,
Yikes,
Whatever
dude.
shark bait says you're
Don't
very
have to be a
sus.
lizard person. You
Shit.
don't have to be a lizard person to just appreciate reptiles.
Yo, let's just admit it. We got called out.
Like
We're
look,
fucking reptile people.
just look how sexy their scales are.
I'm gonna unzip him right now.
Like if you think about it, like being blooded is just a huge waste of energy.
This is not us admitting that we're reptile people, I swear.
So you guys mentioned a couple already, but what's the last album you guys listened to?
I've just got real hot on this record by a band called Deep Sea Diver, which is not a metal record at all. It's this cool sort of like, I don't know how to describe it, like just a really cool rock album, which is like not something I would normally like. I don't want to say I would not normally venture into, but it's got this indie rock sort of vibe, like Jazz Masters and lots of pedals kind of thing. But yeah, it's a record called Impossible Weight by Deep Sea Diver, and I've just been on a lot of chill stuff. I go through all these moods where I'm like super into metal for a minute, and there's times where I just put it down and I just don't care about metal. And I'm kind of in one of those right now where I'm kind of like vibing out to some chill stuff. So I've been listening to Deep Sea Diver a lot. Matt and I both got into a band called Now this year that really fucking kicks ass. They put out an album like 2012 or something called Threads. So like my album of the year is like an album from 8 years ago, which is fucking terrible to say, but it's so good, and I just can't stop listening to that.
As far as all right, so I've been listening to a couple like singles and smaller stuff, like the two songs that just came out by System of a Down. Like I've been listening to that, even though like I'm still sort of ambivalent because like they seem to be, good people, but also the drummer seems to be like
John Dolmayan can eat shit, but that band rocks.
Just let me play drums for you. I can play drums for you. I swear to God, I can play all of those parts. And like my fucking politics are spotless. Just if at any point, it's just you don't even have to respond to this. It's fine. I'm not actually expecting anything. Just know offer's always there. I'm gonna leave it at that. As far as like actual album, what's it called? That comp or that what's the word? Not compilation, but
You can do it.
what is it when two artists work together?
Split or collaboration.
Collaboration.
There he is. All right, we're here.
The collaboration between Emma Ruth Rundle and Thou.
Oh, right on.
That album that just came out like 2 weeks ago. That shit's fucking sick. Also, I've been listening to a lot of Purity Ring. They're like an electronic group, but they just did like a remix of Knife Party by Deftones, and that song, like their remix of it is fucking wild. Also, before that, they put out a cover of Better Off Alone by DJ Sammy, which is one of my favorite fucking dance songs from the like late 90s, early 2000s. And to hear them do it, that's great. Oh, wait.
We may have a visitor on the podcast today.
Oh,
What's up, dude? Yeah, but very lots of non-metal right now. Oh, also kind of in our world, like the one thing that's actually close to what we play, the new Interval singles are fucking awesome.
Yeah,
all three of those are fucking awesome.
Those are
that band can't do any wrong apparently because that shit isn't.
I feel like Emma Ruth Rundle and that was also in our wheelhouse a little bit, but
Kind
also
of.
yeah, the interval songs that have been coming out are it's sick that they're pretty much going to be putting out the record right around ours too, and like
That way nobody pays attention to ours.
Yeah, but like maybe because they like us, we might receive some of their excess clout.
Maybe like 9 of their fans will listen to our album instead.
they'll throw
I'm
you
all
the
about the clout.
extras.
I'm only all for the clout.
Yeah, no, we don't like music. We're just here to, be cool.
Again, I can't figure out why exactly we decided to play fucking death metal because it's not what you typically associate with clout.
Pizza Sushiro wants to know what we think about the new Mr. Bungle, which I believe is kind of like the old Mr. Bungle.
Wait, isn't it a
It's-
re-recording of their first
yeah.
EP?
Oh, yeah,
Demo?
it's new old Mr. Bungle. It's fucking awesome. Like I will be the first to admit I didn't even know what that demo sounded like beforehand because of Mr. Bungle I'm familiar with is like California and like that kind of stuff. Not like thrash metal Mr. Bungle from when they first started, but I did check it out and it's fucking cool. It's just so cool to hear Mike Patton doing Bungle in the year 2020, like in any form. So yeah, it kicks ass. Big fan.
Also, just yeah, I have actually not listened to it yet. I do want to
Neither
listen
have
to it. Just I love California and Disco Volante. Like those albums are like I got exposed to those while I was like relatively young as well, like probably like I don't know, like 16 or 17 years old, and like they have always just had the most just abject place in my heart. And so like the fact that I can like go on my streaming service and see new music by Mr. Bungle, even if it's old shit, I'm just like, well, fuck, I should listen to that.
That band's important to our band.
Yeah, people keep comparing my shit to Mr. Bungle, and I still have never heard Mr. Bungle. I need to get on that.
Dude, listen to California.
Oh,
listen to California, dude. I'm telling you.
California is actually a master. It's actually fucking ridiculous how smart that album is.
Shit whoops too much ass.
It's in so many different ways. Like, we don't deserve that record.
Oh, one more. I just saw my own shirt in the camera. I've been listening to Daughters a lot lately too. Actually, that is the one heavy I've been listening to a lot. Yeah, I that's a band that like just fucking whoops ass. But like I took a long break from it, and like maybe like a week ago, I put on "You Won't Get What You Want" again, and I was like, this shit is out of control.
I've been off Daughters since summer, but I should probably get, because you know what? Because
it's Daughters season, by the way. It's terrible outside.
Just put out their new record not too long ago, so I've been listening to Health too.
Health whoops
just
ass.
On the
yeah.
aspect of like with the electronic music, but also like Health is its own animal. But because like they went on tour together,
yeah,
that made me think like, oh fuck, this Health record, it's all like fucking remixes.
Listen to Daughters tomorrow.
Yeah. I should listen to Daughters.
Yeah, it'll be cool.
Yeah, the last one they put out, it's cool, but it's not something I want to revisit. I'm a huge fan of the early stuff, though, man. Canada Songs is my jam. It's cool, man, but like, there's only so much depression you can take. You know what I mean?
No, I get it. Canada Songs kicks ass.
Canada Songs is great, but like Hell Songs.
Hell Songs is dope too.
Yo, here's
no, I'm saying
the deal.
The newest
one,
last
one
one
is good. The last one's my favorite Daughters record. That is I can't even say it's taken anymore because it's such a big ass album. It's so fucking good. I honestly, this is gonna be my hot take. The Daughters records are good in backwards order.
What?
I like the newest one best, self-titled second best, Hell Songs third best, Canada Songs fourth best. That is my take. I will live and die by it. I will die on that hill.
Incorrect take.
And like even that
Canada Songs is
that Canada Songs is bad. It's just to say that
Canada rocks.
Yeah, it's just that all of the albums that came out after it are proportionally better. So like they fucking grew.
I get it though. I get it. You know why I think that though, and this is probably a huge difference between you and I, is I actually wasn't there for Daughters in the beginning. I did not get into Daughters until last year.
Oh, I wasn't there at the beginning either.
Oh no shit. Okay, so then fuck that then. I made that.
I didn't really start listening to them until they opened for the
Dillinger,
the last Dillinger.
I guess it was like 2018 actually I got into it. Probably like well that was the very last 2017 basically. I probably got into Daughters like late last year actually. So I was even late after that. It took me a while. Like him and the other guys got into it pretty quickly and I just didn't pay attention right away. But then I got
was
into
the last
it last
one
year,
the
like,
first one you heard?
Yes, but it wasn't initially my favorite. So okay. Mike told me, "Yo, start with You Won't Get What You Want. It's the best Daughters record." I said, "Fine." Put it on. Thought it was pretty good. Then I put on Hell Songs. That was my favorite for a week. Then I put on the self-titled. That was my favorite for a week. Went back to this one and went, "No, this is unequivocally the best one." And I have not changed my opinion since then.
It's so good. It's
fucking
so good.
incredible, dude. Just that. What's that fucking song? The Reason They Hate Me. That song is out of its own mind. It's so cool. Don't tell me how to do my job. It's fucking crazy. So cool. I'm gonna listen on the way home.
Oh man, I just missed the grind that they were doing, man. That shit was dope.
Yeah, it's a matter of if that's your thing or if like the weirdo noise rock shit's more your thing. So it really just depends on taste like anything else.
So you guys were touring pretty extensively. You have to have some stories. Like what was the best show you've ever played?
I have like a top few, but the one that sticks out the most to me in recent memory was the Veil Maya Intervals tour. We did Gramercy Theater in New York. We're from New York, obviously. But that was kind of like a little bit of like a full circle moment because when we were kids, we always went to see shows at the Gramercy. So it was like you're so used to being on that side of the barricade.
Yeah, so we saw Cynic there.
So Cynic there. I saw the Faceless there, and Suffocation and shit. I don't think you were at that show, but we just saw lots of cool shows there. So like to be on that side of the barricade was a really cool moment. The show was sold out too. That was huge.
Damn.
And we were we were playing very early because we were opening the tour. It was in order, Veil of Maya Intervals, Strawberry Girls, and we opened. So a lot of the shows, you know, how it's like when you're opening bands, some people come in late or whatever. That's how it was for most of the tour. But we were so psyched on this hometown show, especially because it was 4 weeks into a 6-week tour. So we had kind of like left New York and like went all the way across the country, like, you know, all the way to the south and then back up to Northeast. So it was almost like we'd done this whole ass tour to come home and hit Gramercy. And like we hit the stage at 7:00 and the place was fucking packed, like just totally packed, people losing their minds. It was our hometown crowd. So instead of us like opening in California where no one's ever heard of us and like people are like, oh, this is cool, and they do the arm cross thing, it was like, no, this is our crowd. This is for like, we're the opening band, but this is our fucking crowd. These people are here to see us. And it was just sick. It was such a cool show. So there's been other ones, but that's one that always sticks out to me.
That's badass, man. What about you, Matt?
Someone asked how the European tour was, and is a good question because London with Rollo Tomasi sticks out in my mind too. That was a big one.
If I was gonna say like one of the only other shows that I could have thought of as far as like not only just with Rollo Tomasi, but so the first time we were over there, we were on tour with Palm Reader, Rollo Tomasi, and it was us, and that was one of the best fucking tour packages ever. Like across the board, fantastic people, fantastic music, just the most fun. I think I
don't think I'll ever have that much fun ever again.
Rollo Tomasi,
I think I peaked.
Are the most fun people ever, and Palm Reader as well. They're slightly less fun, but they're still great.
That's a dig. That's not true. That's a dig in hopes that one of them's listening.
Yeah, but when we so we did like a whole European tour. The first time we went over there, this is back in 2018. And go through all the continent, you know, play France, Germany,
all the vibe, yeah, everywhere.
like all places that we've never been before, and just had like the just best, like talk about a great first experience for being over there. And then we get back to the UK and we play 5 days in the UK through Scotland and then through
England,
England. And every single of the 5 days was sold out. And
across the board.
The very last
Fucking
show.
awesome.
Yeah, the very last show was in London.
600 cap room. That was the garage. I know Reva's in the chat, and they probably know what's up with that.
Yeah.
But yeah, the garage in London, it was a Rollo Tomasi headline. It was their biggest show to date. Their biggest headliner today, I should say.
And we got to open that, and you know, it was like it was the very last show for us in our time overseas for the first time, and just talk about absolutely hospitable. Welcome and
finale. That shit was a finale to that tour. It was so sick. So many people and such a good vibe, and like England really the whole UK treats us better than most countries do. Like
and then
we just love to play shows.
When we went back
there.
last year in summer of 2019, it was also just like, you know, the routing was a good bit different, but most of the shows we played, we did do one festival, Radar Fest, right? Was it?
We did Radar, yeah.
And Rollo Tomasi was on that, and Rollo Tomasi took us out on most of the mainland tour itself too. And again, Rollo, we love you.
Shout out Rollo.
But by the time we got back to the UK, we did actually a few shows with Animals as Leaders and Car Bomb.
Yeah,
and that was a lot of fun.
Yeah. That shit's on the top. That Glasgow show was one I remember quite fondly. Yeah, that lineup, because that one had Rollo, whereas the other ones didn't. So that lineup was top to bottom: Animals as Leaders, Car Bomb, Rollo Tomasi, and us. And that's like one of the most powerful lineups we've ever been a part of.
Right?
That shit was like intimidating to play. Yeah, that was terrifying to play.
So your first tour over there, you played the sold out venues? That's awesome, man.
Yeah, we got very lucky. So Rollo came to America in late 2017, supporting the number 12 Looks Like You, and we were on that tour as well. So the tour package was 12, Rollo, and us.
Jesus.
And we never met Rollo. I admittedly had never even heard of Rollo at the moment, and they were the other sport bands. They hit us up and were like, "Hey, we're coming to America to do this tour with you guys. It's like our first like full proper U.S. tour. Do you want to share a van?" And we were like, fuck it, let's make some friends. Let's make a whole bunch of like, you know, we'll save some money. We'll rent a van together.
We have shared vans.
We've done it a lot. Yeah,
we have never known before. Just from like, bands from like in New York that
Yeah.
like
So it was like, well, what's the worst that can happen? It was like a short tour. It was less than 2 weeks. We're like, what's the worst that could happen? They suck ass, and like we just deal with them for 2 weeks. In one day, we were like, this best band we've ever been on tour with. Like they were so much fun. We immediately had this moment where like this is gonna be the most fun tour ever. Like, and it was. So we became close with them, and then we obviously started to realize what kind of band they were, and they were much bigger overseas. And we're like, shit, this band has a legit following. Like everyone, even in America, that was their first proper U.S. tour. People were fucking psyched to see them, and I had never heard of them, and I felt like an idiot. I'm like, everyone here wants to see this band, and I'm like, who's this shit? And I remember the first show in Philly, I just watched them from the side of the stage, and I was like, this shit's like, we gotta step it up. Like we're gonna have to really step it up here because like this band's gonna embarrass us nightly. So yeah, we became like inseparable friends at that point, and then only a couple weeks later, they hit us up and were like, yo, do you want to do Europe with us after the New Year? And we are like, fucking yeah, are you kidding? Like, let's go. We've never been to Europe before.
That's another lesson for like if you
being cool.
Be cool, fucking hang out. Like when they came over here, like I remember like the very first night they fucking crashed at my place. And my first, because it was like the first like a professional, like the number 12 tour was the first tour that we did that we were a signed band, and the first tour that we did with other signed bands as a signed band.
Mm-hmm.
And so like my thought process was just like, all right, let's just like, I want to be as hospitable as possible to these people. Like, they're in a place they haven't been before. Like, I just want to like make sure they're comfortable, and like we just like hang out,
chill ass night. Yeah. You know what it is like. That is a perfect like example of like what like your advice to bands question is that like Rollo Tomasi gained essentially nothing by taking us on tour to Europe, which like sounds like weird to say, but we had no following there. We had never played there. Any following we had in Europe was purely from Spotify, which was not very much. So it was like for them to take us over for their headline tour for their new album, which at the time was that album Time Will Die and Love Will Bury It, which is a fucking 10 out of 10 album.
Great album.
That was like sort of like the proper release tour for that record. When you do like a release tour like that, you want to make sure it's as big as possible. They could have made like the crowd or financial decision to go like, well, let's try to get the biggest support bands we possibly can. The Palm Reader was obviously a smart one for them because they're a solid sized band over in Europe too. But for us to take us, they gained nothing from that besides a good time. Like that was purely like, we love you guys. We want to bring you over here. We think this crowd would love you. Come here. So that didn't help them as much as it helped us. And that like is kind of shit that we are so indebted to them and so many other people for doing, is just like liking the band and taking a chance on it. Much like you asked about Good Fight before, much like Good took a chance on us. Rollo took a chance on bringing us over to Europe, and then they did it again. And like that's the kind of shit that only happens if you're cool. It only happens if you want to be cool with everything. But yeah, so those dudes, like, we are just indebted to them forever. I don't even remember where we started on this, but that's where we're at now.
Oh, that's what your best show was.
Totally. It's just,
right. The best show, right? So yeah, you're
yeah. So, like,
yeah.
The UK, but like also the Gramercy show that definitely sticks out in my mind too.
London was cool. Glasgow with Animals was
like
cool.
The
Yeah.
solid,
There's some shows. There's some fucking shows. Right?
Also, like one of the most fun okay, so if we're talking about maybe not necessarily best show, but probably the show that, as far as like all of the components that went into it, that I probably had the most fun was actually in Boise, Iowa. Idaho.
Yeah, that was a weird one. That was a cool ass weird day.
It was also on the Valve Maya and Intervals tour, and it was a festival, but like they turned the whole city into it. Like it wasn't a festival like a place, and there's 3 or 4 stages. Like it was multiple venues within a city. That
it was 26 venues in the city of Idaho, Boise.
And so like if you bought the band to get you into the festival, you were like able to get into any one of those 26 venues. And we were in like the fucking heavy metal venue. So like if anything, it was like, as far as the other shows that we were playing on that tour, it was the most familiar because it was like slightly smaller place, definitely more packed, like less room in general, but just like more grit, more organic, just a
small venue show. It was a small venue show, yeah.
And so like for multiple other reasons that I don't feel like getting into in interest of time, but like,
he was drunk.
Yeah, I don't like to play drunk when I play live, but because of the general conditions surrounding that show, I was more intoxicated than I have ever been for any other show. But it turned out
we
pretty good.
we played good.
Yeah.
We don't know.
You held it together. You held it together. No
It was
vomiting
fun.
on stage.
That was like, yeah,
It was outside. No, I'm kidding.
that was like one of the first, because of like the weird structure of the shows too. That was like one of the first shows on the tour that members from Veil and Intervals actually like got to watch our band, and from there it just became a lot more.
A couple of the guys had watched prior, but like to Matt's point, like there was a much small. There was no like green rooms and backstage. Not that anyone like actively didn't watch the band earlier. It's just that there was places to relax on most of the venues. That was like, we're all in this dive bar together. So like we actually got to know the tour package a lot better that day, because it was only like, it was like less than a week into the tour, I think. So everyone's
like
kind of feeling each other out.
Like third or fourth day.
Something like that.
Yeah.
No, it was a little longer because I was in the hospital on like the third day.
Right.
It was like the 6th day or something. That's a whole
Did
nother
you
story.
say you were in the
I ended up
hospital?
in the hospital.
Jesus, what happened?
Yeah, I had a whole eye thing.
He's got a
An
bad
eye
eye.
I got a
thing.
fucked up eye. It's just like, yeah, it's like a reoccurring corneal tear kind of vibe. And on the first day of the biggest tour of our lives, I was almost hospitalized, and I played the show anyway. And then the second day, I was hospitalized, and I played the show anyway, but without a guitar because I couldn't see. I wasn't supposed to play because I couldn't see, again, because the whole fucked up eye.
Jesus
and I laid down in the
Christ.
green room, and my band started playing without me because I told them I couldn't see. And
Which
then
is another thing, when you meet ridiculous adversity, you just make
plow
the show.
through.
Yeah, you make the show go on.
So long and short of it is, I wasn't able to see because my eye was fucked up, and I can't play guitar without the, obviously, because I'm not that good at it. So I was like, well, I'm in the back green room. I'm gonna have to play I'm gonna have to listen to the first Cryptodira show I've ever listened to, and I don't like that, but I have to. So they set up my gear anyway on the off chance to be able to do it. Wasn't able to do it. They got through. They're gonna play without me and only have Mike do vocals. And I decided about half a song in.
yeah, we got through half a constitution.
Yeah, I heard I was getting frustrated hearing the band play without me. So I got up. My eye was ridiculously light sensitive. Like I could not be near a light. I put on sunglasses and a hoodie. And I put the hoodie as pulled down as far as I could, and I wore like Unabomber ass sunglasses. And I kind of stumbled out, and I tapped Jeremy on the back. I was like, "Yo, is that microphone live?" In the middle, and he's like, "What are you doing?" And I was like, "I didn't ask what I'm doing. Is the microphone live?" And he's like, "Yeah, I think it's on." He like tapped it, and it was on. So I just grabbed the microphone and I just did a blind set only on vocals.
I think like we definitely probably have videos of that show, but like it was
It's crazy.
Yeah, it was wild because like that's like one of the only Cryptodira shows where we have the only times Scott has played parts of a set, even parts of a set, without his guitar is when we've done Converge covers in the past.
When we were kids,
Yeah, when we were like way younger. And so like the overall, like it was just a weird general vibe. But again, it's like one of those things that like
But the best part was these guys didn't know about it, Mike and Matt, and really Jeremy, but I tapped him on the back at least. But so I kind of just like moseyed on stage looking like my friend, our merch guy, Andy, described it as a cross between M Shadows and the Unabomber. And I just kind of like stumbled out, and they were like, "Who the fuck is this guy?" Like, and that's what happened. But, you know, it's just like Matt said, it's a testament to just kind of doing what has to be done, you know?
you kind of looked like the this is an old meme, but the fucker and the pussy guy.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Oh, dude. So I got a picture. You probably won't be able to see it, but I found one. Hang on. On my phone where you can see what I looked like. Hang on. You probably won't be. You can kind of see. Yeah. There you go.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. That was my vibe for the day.
Well, I was
Good
gonna
times,
ask you next
good
what your
times. But
what
yeah,
your
yeah,
worst show
good
was.
shows.
That's probably the answer. But do you have another answer?
That wasn't the worst
No,
show. But that was the worst I ever
not even,
felt,
like,
though.
yeah.
That was the worst I ever personally felt during a show. But that was nowhere close to the worst show the band
Here's the
did.
thing,
Oh,
like,
now I'm
worst
excited.
show. I have probably already pushed it out of my memory. It probably.
I got
was
one.
Troll Fucker.
I'm not
Yeah.
gonna drop names, but I can definitely think of the worst show we ever played. So really quickly, this quick is getting long, but 2013 DIY tour, playing Pittsburgh for the first time. We were playing in what I can only describe as a garage and an industrial park. There were 0 people at the show at the moment. We had driven 7 hours during the day from Michigan, 7 or 8 hours, something like that, and we barely slept because we stayed at a house the night before. There was a house party, so just like nothing but like loud music and liquor until like 5 o'clock in the morning. We had to get up at like 7 or something like that. It was
Nice.
fucking stupid. Just like this is what I mean by like the DIY tour like before there were day sheet schedules and load-in times. It was very like, dude, I don't know, show up this garage at
we
8.
were sharing the van with another man too, and like just a
Yeah.
general feeling of defeat,
Just
and
misery. Like
exhaust, and,
everyone
like,
was. I was sick too. I had a really bad cold.
Oh,
I remember
yeah, the
huh.
general affect was simply just holy shit.
Misery.
Why do we want to be musicians?
Fucking misery. So
what do we get out of this?
So we like after all that's the stage, right? The set the stage and we get to this venue and there's legitimately fucking nobody there. Like I mean no point where there was a calendar at this venue and we weren't even on it. So
Nice.
like, even on the off chance that somebody like was at this fucking garage another day, they wouldn't even know to look to see that we were there. And it turned into glorified band practice, which is obviously something that happens to all bands, but just the fact that we were sick, and then there was like this band again.
We did that with Ghost Key too. But
yeah, that's another. Yeah, we did it plenty of times. Yeah, there's this opening band that had a bizarre vibe. Again, I don't want to name any names because I think they were nice. I don't really remember. This is a really long time ago. But there was this really weird local opening band. They had like weird costumes and shit, and then we played the show. The promoter smelled really bad. I mean, like,
smell this guy
fucking bad.
And he was wearing a kilt.
Wore a kilt.
And like,
he had a curly mohawk.
Okay.
He to his credit, he did at least like give us the doors.
Oh, dude,
$13?
I'll never forget it, dude. There was 2 bands that were getting paid, and he paid the 2 bands together $23. And we split it among the 2 bands, so we got 12. Sorry, I can't do math. 11.50 each.
Yeah, 11.
Nice.
And it was
Rolling
crazy. So then we went to our buddy's house. After that, he lived in the area. He wasn't there. He gave us the keys to his apartment, and then we almost got him evicted the next morning because we were walking in a caravan of dudes with like luggage from his apartment. There was 10 of us because we had 2 bands, and his fucking like HOA manager or some shit came out and was like, "Where are you coming from?" And we're like, "Oh, I don't know." And they somehow figured out like where we came from. I guess like a neighbor had us out or whatever. And they called him and were like, "Dude, you can't have all these people here. Like that's a fire hazard." He's like, "I'm not even there right now. They're just my friends. They were quiet. We didn't have a party. We did nothing. We were just totally quiet." But these people were pissed off that there was
Mike
a lot
and
of us.
Scott almost fought each other over mac and cheese that night.
Me and Mike almost. That was the worst fight we ever got into, and it was over mac and
Like,
cheese.
not even just like ever in the this band ever in the history of our friendship.
I've been friends with Mike for like 17 years, and that was the worst fight we ever got in.
They almost fucking fist fought each other over mac and cheese.
It wasn't
was
over
so
mac and
wild
cheese.
to
That
me.
was the straw that broke the camel's back because of all this history we just went
we
through.
were just in such a bad place.
Just the worst mood ever. And like so the next morning, like we're driving down the highway, and my friend calls me. He's like, "Dude, like my HOA just called me. Like they said they're all pissed off that you guys stayed there, and like it's no big deal. He's the nicest fucking dude on the planet. So he's just like, dude, it's no big deal. I just want to let you know, like, I can't have you stay here anymore because like I might get evicted." And I'm like, "Oh my god, I'm so sorry. Like all we did was sleep. Like I swear." And he's like, "No, it's cool." As I'm on the phone with him, I'm not making this up. As I'm on the phone with him, the dude next to us driving. I'm not driving. I'm just like right behind the driver. He's doing this like the guy on the highway. He's like, "Pull your window down." And my buddy, our buddy Jesse, like opens the window and he's like, "What's up?" And he's screaming. We're only 60 miles an hour. I was like, "What?" And he's like, "Your trailer door's open." And we were like,
Oh
"Fuck!"
shit.
We were driving down a highway with our trailer. We rented a U-Haul and we're towing it on the back of a 15-passenger van, and the shit was wide open.
Why the fuck
and
open?
thank
Holy
God that we
shit.
packed everything so tight. Okay,
Nothing fell out.
Another lesson to
Wow.
touring bands.
Pack your shit
Pack
tight.
everything tight.
Also, make sure it's locked before you start driving.
Yeah, like that's always one of the last.
We were 20 years old and made quick mistakes, and so like this is all on the heels. This traces back to the Michigan house parties where the misery started. So like the Michigan house party, horrible show, promoter that smells like a dumpster, $23 payout. Me and Mike get into a fight. Our friend almost gets evicted, and then our trailer doors open on the highway in Pittsburgh, all within like 26 hours, probably.
Yeah, like not even a day and a half.
That's crazy, dude. Holy
But
shit.
that's what you got to do.
That one sticks. Yes,
Yeah.
you got to do that shit. If
Until
you, want to
you have a story like that, you're not a band.
That's awesome.
That's the worst.
Man. Anyway, I think we'll start wrapping this up a little bit, going a little long. Be sure to check out Angel of History, the sophomore album from Cryptodira, which drops December 4th through Good Fight. So I guess the best place to order would be Good Fight Music and deathwishinc.eu. Those are
Yeah,
the best
so
places?
if you're in States, yeah, if you're in the States, definitely goodfightmusic.com. And yeah, overseas, I believe it's deathwishinc.eu. We do deathwishinc.com, so whatever that translates to out in Europe, I think it's .eu. That's where you'll get the CD and vinyl and stuff. And yeah, the US is all the cool like pre-order packages and merch and stuff. Like hopefully if you make us a bigger band, we can get really cool merch over in Europe. But for now, all the cool merch is over in the States. Unless
Come
you
on,
want to pay
Europe,
crazy
step it up.
shipping, which I don't. Yeah, we're trying to get bigger. So actually, if you can fucking fix that, that'd be good.
Come on, you goddamn Germans. We know you like merch.
So
Love
you guys
Germany.
got CDs, 2 vinyl variants, some shirts, and wall flags. You also have a sale on your merch right now, right? On your old merch at cryptodira.com. Is that still going on?
Sure, dude. Hell yeah. I guess. Do we?
What was it
I
called?
saw a
It's
thing.
clear.net. I know that much.
Oh,
yeah,
is it .net? Okay.
Yeah, there might be a sale running on that shit. It's
Okay.
cryptodira.net. So that's like the merch that we have, like the leftover merch from tours. And that shit's really cheap right now. Yeah. So like cryptodira.net is where you can find all our merch, and then goodfightmusic.com is where you find all the new pre-order merch. That's the really really fucking cool shit. There's like build a bundle or something, which I like a lot. You're not trapped into buying a bundle full of shit you don't want. The more shit you get, the more discount you get, something like that. So kind of actually build your own thing with the vinyl variants and sweatshirts and all that stuff. So
That's dope. You guys are also on Spotify. I assume all the other streaming sites. Also on like Bandcamp,
Spotify,
Facebook,
Apple,
Instagram.
Amazon.
Yeah.
If there's a place to listen to music, we're probably on it.
Yeah,
And if
if
we're
you-
not, then tell me and I'll get us on.
If you want to listen to us and not pay us, you have options.
Yeah. If you want to make sure we get as little, no, I'm kidding. Definitely stream the shit out of
Please,
it.
for the love of God, stream us. It's all that's our lifeblood right now.
Unfortunately, yeah, we don't make any money on it, but for some reason, it's still our lifeblood.
It is our lifeblood, and we are anemic at the same time.
You guys are also on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and on Twitch. You guys are everywhere. Just look
Yes.
up your name.
So we are twitch.tv/Cryptodira Band, Cryptodira Band on Twitter, Cryptodira Band on Instagram, and just regular old ass Cryptodira on Facebook.
Is somebody else Cryptodira on these other sites? How's that?
Can you fucking believe it? There's another Cryptodira on Twitch. It's like for some reason their photo is Donkey Kong and it pisses me off.
Oh, I was
Like,
gonna
who the
ask if
fuck are
they're
you,
like
man?
streaming
Like-
turtles the whole time, or
Dude, I have no idea, but I'm about to hit them up and offer them like $80 for that name.
The
'Cause-
Cryptodira tag on a couple things actually does get taken up by turtles.
Yeah.
We
No
finally
shit.
started to overtake. Yeah, on if you Google search Cryptodira, I feel
We're
like
starting to
now-
win now.
Yeah, the algorithms have been tipped in our favor, as opposed to
That's how I know we'll make it. If someone searches Cryptodira on Google and it's only us, that's how we fucking
yeah.
made it.
But like if you search like just Cryptodira on like Twitter, it's mostly our shit or people talking about us. But like there is like for whatever reason specifically like Japanese accounts.
Yeah, they love to
Yeah,
talk about turtles,
about
man.
specifically Cryptodira of all turtles.
It's so I follow the Cryptodira tag on Instagram, and I'd say it's like 75% us and like 25% just actual tortoises. It's fucking sick. So it's a cool tag to follow. Definitely follow #Cryptodira on Instagram.
Yeah,
'Cause
you
even if
got-
it's
you
not
got
us, you'll
nothing to
fuck with it.
lose, Yeah,
Yeah,
If
you'll like the
anything,
turtles.
It's just fucking turtles, and if you don't like turtles, you might
Fuck
be,
you.
Yeah, you might be a
Honestly,
terrorist.
don't listen to my band if you like turtles. If you don't like turtles. That's it. Don't fucking listen to us.
uh,
Fuck you.
is there anything else you guys would like to say?
Fuck you. No, I'm kidding.
Free Palestine.
Yeah.
Alrighty.
Listen to our band. Angel of History's coming out. I don't know. Fuck Donald Trump. Yeah. Whatever. Normal shit.
Well,
Listen to our band.
as for me, drop my channel follow so you always know when I go live. Find me on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, YouTube. YouTube folks, if you like this, please drop a like, subscribe, tickle the notification bell. Check out my music, The Sound That Ends Creation. My 5th album, Meme Streams and Flying Machines, is out now. And my next guest is Plastic Bag Face Mask. Join us next Sunday, 7 p.m. Central, for a live interview. Twitch.tv/The Cassette Ends Creation. Thanks for being here, guys. Hope you guys have fun.
Thanks, dog. Had a great
Have a good
time.
night.
Thanks for having us, man.
Thank
And
you.
thank you for watching and listening.